We all know the Amazon is packed with amazing plants and animals, right? But did you know people live there too?
Some images of an uncontacted indigenous tribe named the Mashco Piro were published.
Hidden deep within the jungle are numerous tribes who've called this incredible place home for centuries. And while most of them prefer to keep to themselves, let's just say you wouldn't want to accidentally wander into their territory uninvited. Curious to know more? Here are 20 of the Amazon's most fascinating and, yes, a little intimidating tribes you'd probably want to avoid meeting face to face. Papua New Guinea tribes. Let's shift focus from South America for a moment and talk about Papua New Guinea, another place famous for its unique and vibrant tribal cultures. While this country does have some modern cities and large-scale mining operations, much of its landscape is wild and untouched, home to hundreds of tribes who've lived there for centuries. Among them are the Huli and the Kunai tribes, two rival groups who, despite their differences, occasionally put aside their conflicts to celebrate together. During the annual Sing Sing festival, they come together in a colorful display of face painting, dancing, and cultural pride. But that's just one part of Papua New Guinea's remarkable diversity. The country is home to over 600 tribes and more than 850 different languages. This rich cultural tapestry is something the nation takes pride in, drawing tourists from around the world to experience these festivals and witness the traditions that have been passed down through generations. Before you get any ideas about mingling freely with the locals, though, a word of caution. Not every tribe is keen on outside visitors. While some take part in cultural celebrations, many remain fiercely protective of their land and way of life. So if you're planning to explore the remote parts of Papua New Guinea, don't assume that every encounter will be friendly. Some tribes prefer their isolation and won't welcome unexpected guests. Here in this thumbnail, you're seeing two people from one of the world's most fascinating tribes. Curious about what these intense markings mean? They're not just for decoration. These body modifications are symbols of identity and status, reflecting a person's place in their community. It's amazing how these practices, especially common among Amazonian tribes, reveal so much about their culture. Doesn't this feel like a window into another world? Let me know what you think in the comments. The Mursi tribe. Let's take a quick journey to Africa, specifically to Ethiopia, to meet one of the world's most isolated tribes, the Mursi tribe. Nestled in Ethiopia's Omo Valley, a place known for its impressive cultural diversity, the Mursi live among nearly 24 other tribes. Considering how harsh the environment is, it's impressive how these tribes thrive. But life in the Mursi tribe isn't just tough because of the land. It's also shaped by unique customs that outsiders might find surprising or even shocking. For one, when Mursi warriors want to show off their strength, they don't hesitate to brandish AK-47s, which they somehow acquire and keep on hand. Scarification, creating scars as a form of body art, is also common and serves as a powerful symbol of identity. But there's more to their practices. In marriage customs, men can capture a woman and marry her with no issues raised. There's also something called inheritance marriage, where a widow is passed on to her late husband's family members. And of course, the Mursi are known for their striking body decorations. They're famously recognized for wearing large lip and ear plates, a tradition that may remind you of the tribal looks in movies like Black Panther. These adornments, along with other unique decorations, have been part of their heritage for generations. While some outsiders have criticized these practices, the Mursi continue to embrace their traditions and live according to their own customs, largely shunning outsiders and modern technology. Except, of course, for those AK-47s. The Sentinelese tribe. If you think the Mursi are isolated, wait until you hear about the Sentinelese. The world's most secluded tribe. They live on North Sentinel Island near India, and they're so isolated that it's actually illegal to go there unless you're one of them. And trust me, there's a pretty good reason for this strict rule. It's a bit terrifying, actually. The first recorded modern encounter with the Sentinelese happened back in 1867, when an Indian merchant ship accidentally crashed on their shores. As the stranded crew explored, the Sentinelese showed up and immediately attacked them. Later, during the British rule of India, British officers even kidnapped 6 members of the tribe to bring them back to the mainland. Unfortunately, the Sentinelese had no immunity to diseases from the outside world, and some of the kidnapped individuals quickly fell ill, with some even dying. The survivors were promptly returned to the island. Since then, almost every attempt to approach or contact the Sentinelese has been met with a hostile response. Outsiders who've made it onto the island, whether by accident or design, have often faced fatal consequences, including an American missionary who attempted to bring Christianity to the tribe. Due to these incidents, all access to North Sentinel Island is now strictly prohibited, and the Indian Coast Guard maintains a buffer zone around the island to keep curious visitors at a safe distance. So while you could attempt to visit, you'd better be prepared to dodge arrows or worse. The Caribs tribe. Now, let's jump back to South America and meet the Caribs, a tribe with deep roots in history and a presence that spans several countries. Known by various names, including the Kalina, the Caribs have villages spread across rivers and coastlines in Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, and Brazil. And yes, they've been part of the Amazon rainforest for centuries, with customs and lifestyles that mirror other Amazonian tribes. Interestingly, the Caribs were first encountered by none other than Christopher Columbus during his exploration. In fact, they're even connected to the name Caribbean. Columbus, however, misinterpreted much about their location and culture, leading to misunderstandings that have endured in history. Unfortunately, much of what we know about the Caribs is limited because they had no written language and relied on oral traditions to pass down their history. Despite this, historical accounts describe them as fierce warriors who defended their lands and clashed often with other tribes in the Amazon basin. Like many indigenous groups, the Caribs suffered greatly due to diseases brought by Europeans, and some were even taken back to places like Paris as curiosities. Today, their culture and heritage survive, but it's best to approach them respectfully. Not every Carib community is open to outsiders, and some prefer to maintain a safe distance from the modern world. The Aztecs tribe. Step back in time to the ancient Aztec civilization, a powerful society celebrated for its intricate culture and highly organized social structure. The Aztecs, who thrived in Mesoamerica, established a powerful empire that lasted from the 14th to the 16th centuries. Their society was marked by advanced agriculture, impressive architectural achievements, and a complex religious system, making them a significant force in the historical context. Although they weren't from South America, the Aztecs dominated what is now Mexico and Central America, with an empire that stretched far and wide. Despite centuries of study, their origins are still a bit of a mystery. They spoke of coming from a land of white horses before migrating to Mexico, where they built an incredible civilization. Even with what we'd consider primitive technology, the Aztecs managed to construct towering pyramids, grand temples, sophisticated weapons, and bustling cities, all within a remarkably short period. Their empire is still admired for its architectural and cultural achievements, but there's one aspect that truly set them apart: their dedication to their gods. The Aztecs practiced human sacrifice regularly, believing it was essential to honor their deities. They even built altars atop their pyramids to carry out these rituals. Ironically, this powerful civilization met its end with the arrival of Spanish conquistadors, who left the Aztec world in ruins, but left behind remnants of their breathtaking structures. Today, their legacy is a reminder of how quickly a thriving culture can disappear, a lesson that resonates with many indigenous tribes still fighting for survival. The Awa tribe. Now, back to the Amazon with the Awa tribe, one of the forest's most remarkable and endangered tribes. The Awa, who live deep within the Amazon rainforest, are incredibly unique for their small population. As of 2023, there are only around 100 Awa people left. Sadly, their dwindling numbers are part of a long story of colonization and exploitation, starting with European settlers in the 1800s and continuing with the modern-day pressures of deforestation. Today, as countries and corporations push deeper into the rainforest for resources, the Awa are forced to move constantly, living a nomadic lifestyle to avoid the encroaching development. This roaming existence helps them survive in a rainforest being rapidly cut down around them. Yet the Awa are incredibly resilient and skilled at living off the land. They build everything they need and have adapted impressively to the harsh Amazonian environment. The Awa's survival is a testament to their strength, but if they disappear, it would be a tragic loss, not just for the Amazon, but for the cultural diversity and indigenous knowledge of the world. Mashco Piro tribe. Meet the Mashco Piro, a reclusive tribe living deep within the Amazon rainforest. These people have long chosen to stay disconnected from modern civilization, wanting to live as they always have, free from outside influence. However, over the years, many outsiders have tried to make contact with them, even offering items like modern food and machetes to make their lives easier. But this interaction hasn't always gone smoothly. One notable incident involved an intermediary who attempted to bridge the gap between the tribe and modern society. Tragically, he was killed, seemingly by members of the tribe. Since then, the Mashco Piro's response to outsiders has been unpredictable. Sometimes they appear open to interaction, and other times they become hostile. To much of the outside world, they are unfortunately viewed as savages, a perspective that has led to little concern over their rights or culture. Their territory continues to face threats from logging and economic ventures, raising the question of whether they'll receive the protection they need or if they too will face extinction. Palawan people. Next, let's travel to the Philippines to meet the Palawan people, who reside on Palawan Island. With a population of tens of thousands, the Palawan are known for their unique lifestyle as shifting cultivators. They clear small patches of forest to grow food, then move on to allow the land to regenerate. This sustainable approach is something that's often lost on modern civilization, which might explain why environmental issues are so prevalent today. In 2000, a road was built around Palawan Island, leading to a tourism boom. This influx of outsiders has forced the Palawan to become more reclusive. However, the real threat comes from the Filipino government's authorization of mining sites on their land. These mining operations not only harm the environment, but also disturb historically significant areas, including the Palawan's burial sites. Efforts are underway to stop this damage, yet illegal operations continue to threaten the land and heritage of the Palawan people. The future remains uncertain, as their culture and environment face ongoing pressures from modern development. The Suri tribe. Our next stop takes us to the heart of Ethiopia, where we encounter the enigmatic Suri people. The Suri aren't a single group. Rather, they are three distinct communities that were collectively labeled as Suri after being conquered by the Ethiopian government. This merging forced them to adapt parts of their culture and lifestyle to fit within the structures and demands of the government, changing elements of their traditions to align with new political pressures and modernization. For generations, the Suri have lived in the border region between Ethiopia and Sudan, adapting to the land with a resourceful blend of livestock herding, hunting, and gathering. Their agricultural practices are central to their survival, and they grow a variety of crops such as millet, corn, and sorghum, while also cultivating garden crops like legumes, spices, peas, and beans. Despite the richness of their traditions and self-sustaining lifestyle, the Suri face significant challenges. One major threat comes from ongoing armed conflicts in the region, which not only puts the Suri in harm's way, but also restricts their movement and growth. Economic survival has become challenging, and although the Suri have attempted to adapt by engaging in business, the unstable environment around them prevents real lasting progress. This, combined with the pressures of modernization, places the unique Suri culture at serious risk. The Suri's future remains uncertain as they face both internal and external forces that threaten their way of life and heritage. The Yanomami tribe. Now, let's head back to the Amazon to meet the Yanomami, one of the largest isolated tribes in South America. Living in the rainforest and mountainous areas of northern Brazil and southern Venezuela, the Yanomami are a resilient community with deep ties to their land. With approximately 200 villages scattered across the forest, the Yanomami population is estimated to be between 35,000 and 45,000 individuals, though exact numbers can vary based on the source. The Yanomami face numerous threats due to the increasing encroachment of the modern world. Like other Amazonian tribes, they are directly affected by deforestation, illegal mining, and logging activities. In the past, a road was built through their territory, bringing diseases that devastated their population. Today, illegal mining operations continue to harm their environment, contaminating water sources and taking over parts of their homeland. The miners' presence often leads to violent conflicts, sometimes wiping out entire Yanomami villages. To make matters worse, the governments of Brazil and Venezuela have done little to protect the Yanomami people. They often support or turn a blind eye to the expansion of mining and logging activities in Yanomami territory, prioritizing economic gain over the rights and safety of the indigenous population. This disregard for their land and culture has forced the Yanomami into a defensive stance against outsiders. Given these dire circumstances, it's no wonder the Yanomami view outsiders with suspicion. Their struggle highlights the ongoing conflicts between indigenous rights and economic interests, underscoring the urgent need for protection and respect for these communities' autonomy and way of life. The Yanomami continue to resist, but they face a daunting battle to preserve their home and culture in the face of relentless exploitation. The Korubo tribe. Have you ever heard of the Korubo? They're an indigenous tribe living deep in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil. Known for their preference for isolation, the Korubo have kept to themselves and fiercely protect their territory. Much of what we know about them comes from a single contact made in 1996, as other attempts to approach them have often ended in violent confrontations. The Korubo are skilled hunters and warriors, armed with poison darts, which they use both for hunting and as a means of defense against perceived threats. Their reputation for being fierce and territorial has helped to keep many outsiders at a distance, preserving their autonomy and way of life. Fortunately, some organizations are working to safeguard the Korubo from unwanted outside interference, aiming to respect their desire for seclusion. However, the future remains uncertain, and only time will reveal whether these efforts will succeed in keeping the Korubo protected from external pressures. The Yaifo tribe. Our next destination is Papua New Guinea, where we will encounter the secluded Yaifo tribe of the East Sepik region. Much like the Korubo, the Yaifo prefer minimal contact with the outside world. This is by choice. They are content with their traditional lifestyle and have no interest in the modern world. Contact with them has been rare, and they've made it clear that they wish to remain undisturbed. The first explorer to encounter the Yaifo reported that the tribe was not especially welcoming. Upon their arrival, the Yaifo demonstrated their strength through a unique display that included bows, arrows, and a ritualistic dance. The message was clear. They valued their independence and wanted outsiders to respect their boundaries. Like other tribes around the world, the Yaifo thrive in their own way, free from external influence, and wish to maintain their lifestyle. Their message to the world is simple: let them live in peace. The Korowai tribe. Next, we go to Papua New Guinea, where the Korowai tribe exists in complete isolation, remaining undiscovered by the outside world until the 1970s. The Korowai have lived in isolation for generations, developing unique survival skills and building a society that functions well in their secluded environment. One of the most remarkable aspects of Korowai culture is their architecture. They construct homes high up in the trees, around 40 meters above the ground. These tree houses, supported by tall stilts, serve as protection from rival tribes and potential dangers below. The Korowai's ingenuity shows in their ability to build and maintain these elevated homes using materials from their surroundings. While their lifestyle and impressive tree houses might intrigue outsiders, visitors should be cautious. The Korowai practice beliefs in witchcraft, and they are rumored to engage in acts of cannibalism, though this is largely rooted in their spiritual and cultural traditions rather than being a common practice. The Korowai are an example of a tribe that has thrived independently for centuries, and while their way of life might seem mysterious or even shocking to outsiders, they are perfectly adapted to their environment and have every right to remain undisturbed if that's their choice. The Ayoreo tribe. The Ayoreo people of Paraguay are a striking example of the dangers faced by indigenous tribes as a result of relentless deforestation. Living in one of the most deforested areas on the planet, the Ayoreo are constantly on the run from bulldozers and other invasive machinery. With no choice but to abandon their homes whenever industry encroaches, they're unable to establish a permanent settlement. Their existence is marked by a struggle for survival in the face of development projects that threaten their land and livelihood. Government indifference has only worsened their plight. South American governments, including Paraguay's, often prioritize profit over the rights of indigenous people, selling off land to make way for logging and mining operations. In the past, even international forces have played a role in these destructive efforts. For example, at one point, the United States supported operations to locate the Ayoreo and forcibly remove them from their forest homes, all in the name of progress and development. This disregard for their way of life has left the Ayoreo with little to no protection, and their survival remains at risk as deforestation continues to advance. The Kawahiva tribe. Now we return to Brazil to look at the Kawahiva, another indigenous group under severe threat. Much like the Ayoreo, the Kawahiva have faced waves of violence, displacement, and loss due to the constant push for land and resources by loggers, miners, and even government-backed operations. This ongoing exploitation has forced the Kawahiva into a nomadic lifestyle as they attempt to evade those who would take their land, despite the toll this takes on their culture and well-being. The Kawahiva's struggle has even been marked by what many consider acts of genocide. Investigations have been launched into these atrocities, yet no convictions have been made, as authorities often cite lack of evidence to bring justice. The Kawahiva continue to endure a cycle of uprooting and adaptation, struggling to practice their traditional ways under the constant threat of being driven out. While there have been occasional efforts to bring attention to their plight, meaningful action is often absent. The Asmat tribe. Exploring the Asmat people of Papua New Guinea reveals a vibrant culture, as they are among the largest indigenous groups in the country, numbering over 70,000 individuals. Unlike many other tribes, the Asmat have chosen not to live in dense forests, but in the mangrove swamps, making this swampy terrain their home. They're perfectly adapted to this environment, thriving in its unique ecosystem and utilizing its resources for generations. While the Asmat are known for their rich culture, they are also famous as fierce warriors. In the past, they practiced headhunting and cannibalism, taking skulls from their fallen enemies as trophies. To the Asmat, these skulls were more than just symbols of victory. They decorated them and displayed them as prized artifacts. Their reputation as formidable fighters, combined with their willingness to defend their land, has helped the Asmat maintain their autonomy and keep outsiders at bay. Though cannibalism and headhunting have faded from their current practices, the Asmat's warrior heritage remains a powerful part of their identity. The Asaro Mudmen. Staying in Papua New Guinea, let's explore another fascinating tribe, the Asaro Mudmen. Known for their striking and eerie mud masks, the Asaro earned their nickname Mudmen because of the unique way they use mud as both a disguise and a tool of intimidation. The origin of this tradition dates back to a tribal conflict when the Asaro were under attack from a rival tribe. To hide, they dove into a nearby river, emerging completely covered in mud. The rival warriors, thinking these mud-covered figures were spirits, fled in terror. The Asaro quickly realized the power of this supernatural disguise and began using it as a tool to keep their enemies at bay. They crafted intimidating masks from river mud, clay, stones, and other natural materials, creating a ghostly appearance that warded off invaders without a single blow. These masks, with exaggerated features and an otherworldly look, were effective in spreading fear and deterring conflicts. Today, the Asaro Mudmen still wear these masks, but now they're primarily used for festivals, cultural events, and storytelling, preserving this remarkable piece of history. The Batak tribe. Let's journey back to Palawan Island, where we find another indigenous group in grave danger, the Batak. By 2020, their population had dwindled to just about 2,000 people, and unfortunately, their situation is only getting worse. A big part of their struggle comes from the Filipino government's actions on their land. Mining and other operations are tearing apart their natural environment, making it harder for the Batak to survive in their traditional ways. On top of that, they're facing laws that limit their native customs. For example, the Batak traditionally practice a farming method called shifting cultivation to grow their food, just like some other indigenous groups. However, the government has banned this technique, claiming it happens in so-called protected areas. The irony here? The same government that prohibits these practices doesn't actually protect the sacred lands the Batak call home, leaving them to fight for their traditions and their way of life in the face of mounting challenges. The Melanesians. The story of the Melanesians is a unique and complex one, as we're not dealing with a typical tribe, but rather cargo cults tied to the Melanesian people. These groups hold a spiritual belief around items introduced to them by outsiders. When foreign objects like trinkets or tools are brought in, these cults view them as sacred, as if the items were created by divine or mystical forces. They then worship these objects as part of their spiritual practices. Though we know these items weren't created by mystical means, this phenomenon reveals the risks of cultural clashes. When two vastly different worldviews meet, it can lead to misunderstandings and even reinforce beliefs that outsiders may find puzzling or contradictory. It also highlights how challenging it can be to change a group's beliefs once they're rooted, especially in cases like these where cultural identity and spirituality are so deeply intertwined. The Maasai. Finally, we travel to Africa to learn about the Maasai, one of the largest tribes in this discussion. With over 1 million members as of 2019, the Maasai live in central and southern Kenya and northern Tanzania, near the African Great Lakes. Known for their vibrant culture and distinctive customs, the Maasai have also begun to incorporate parts of modern life, including healthcare, which has helped improve infant survival rates. However, the Maasai still adhere to many traditional beliefs and practices that some outsiders may consider controversial. Body modifications, including symbolic markings, are common, and initiation rituals involve specific body alterations as rites of passage into adulthood for both males and females. These customs hold deep cultural significance for the Maasai, symbolizing strength and maturity, although they may be misunderstood by those unfamiliar with the Maasai way of life. And that brings us to the end of our exploration into the incredible lives of tribes across the Amazon and other regions. It's amazing to see how each group has its unique traditions and survival strategies, and definitely why they prefer to be left alone. Were you surprised by any of these tribes? Which one would you absolutely avoid disturbing? Share your thoughts in the comments below.